Hi, I'm Chris.
I'm Dave.
And this is Two Old Skeletons Talking.
It sure is. And we are coming to you from ostensibly Seattle, Washington, but technically we are in Algona, Washington.
Yeah,
right
you were
now.
just telling me that. I didn't even know where we were. So we're in Algona, northbound on 167, coming up the east side of the valley.
I was thinking about working for the Algona Police Department for a while. The one or two people that work for Algona. That's how I happen to know. I did a ride along in Algona once, and
You wouldn't want to do that. That's south of the city.
oh, that was a long time ago. But I think that's probably why I didn't do it. So
Yeah.
All right.
Today's-
So what's the subject today, Chris?
It's a mystery subject from Maya.
Okay.
And you have the paper. What do
I
you
have
got?
the paper in my hand. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Booth stories. Oh man, we blew it. We blew it.
Yeah.
Oh, because we previously recorded an episode that has some pretty
Yeah,
good
that
booth
had
stories
a
in it.
booth story. But you know what? There's other booth stories. You know who actually probably would be the person to tell this episode would be Rob.
Yeah, Rob. Yeah.
So Rob was the production stage manager at Intiman when we were there. And we were working in the booth together, me as the sound op and you as the master electrician, which meant you were the light board op.
Yeah.
And yeah, I feel like Rob would end up having stories about us that I didn't even remember, but
It just is all kind of a blur to me. I mean, I can remember specific incidents. I can remember at one point Rob looking at me like, "What the fuck are you waiting for? Go!" Right? You know? And what else? I mean, I think the things that we did to entertain ourselves during long, tedious shows were more entertaining than the actual shows themselves, right?
well, for us they were.
yeah, well, that's what I mean. you
Yeah.
know? Yeah.
I mean, it was so juvenile sometimes. You know,
Well-
we're in our mid-20s, but
Yeah.
sometimes, specifically juvenile, what I'm thinking about is that, and I think we mostly did this to bug the stage managers, we would pretend that the floor was alligators.
I remember.
Because there was a couch at the end of the booth where we could play Nintendo on this TV that we had there, and we would crawl across the stage manager's chair and the table to get to our seats.
God, we were so childish then. I can remember. I remember trying to run a whole show with a blindfold on, or some dark sunglasses, or something, and
That's
just
so
feeling around for
dumb.
the. Yeah, just well. Here's the thing: for people who don't do this work,
Right.
you have to watch 80 performances of a show, and
Right.
you're stuck in front of the window. You're supposed to be paying attention, even though there's a stage manager to tell you what to do, which actually adds to the level of boredom because you really even don't have to pay attention.
Yeah, you
right?
don't have any
If you were
agency.
taking your own cues, then things might be a little more
Right.
interesting. But literally, your job is to sit there and just push a button when you're told to. What job is more tedious than that? Zero jobs, right? So, so yeah, we had to entertain ourselves, and I would say that probably, I know me for a fact, but I suspect you two all have a low boredom threshold, right?
Kind of. Because you just figure out stuff to do then.
My favorite was the vortex alert system.
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
The stage manager would say, "Stand by for vortex,"
yeah.
and then we'd go through the sequence where there was a bunch of cues, and then he would say, "Okay, end of vortex." And so we, of course, had to take it significantly farther than that.
Yep.
And we had at your station and my station, which were probably 15 feet apart, maybe.
About that, yeah.
You could enable lights and sound. There was a little siren that would go off, and there were flashing lights that would go off, right?
Yeah.
And then there was a 3-stage key system where we'd have to both turn simultaneously
Yeah.
just to amuse ourselves.
Yeah. Now, I have to back up a little bit and just say, we were probably, no, not probably, we were not the most professional board ops.
Oh, no, God. I've had to, as recently as just a few months ago, run shows at the Children's Theater.
Right.
And you literally sit there as quietly as you possibly can, not interrupting the stage manager. It's a tedious job, but yeah. No, we kind of set our own standard there.
Yeah, we did.
But the stage managers loved us. I have to say that.
That's it. And
You know?
we ran good shows,
Yeah.
but I mean, we
Most
were
of the time.
most of the time. But we were not behaving in a way that, frankly, that I would want a board op who was working for me to behave, except that we were good.
Yeah, we were really good. And as our technical director at the time said, Rick said, "I love working with the insane," right?
Right.
the thing that you did that was ingenious, and you totally came up with this by yourself, and so far ahead of anything else going on in this world, is you ran across this chip that would accept voice commands. Now, this is like 89, 90.
Yeah.
Before cell phones, before computers. Computers really didn't have good voice recognition going on.
They didn't have much of anything.
Voice recognition was really in its infancy then, and you found this one chip, and it was to make a cargo, and so it had all of the same things that you use on a light board. Light board commands are go, stop, reverse. Right. And I think when a stage manager is giving commands, he says, stand by lights 3, go, right? And I think it accepted lights also because you could turn the headlights on.
That's right.
So you found this ready-made chip that would accept lights and go, and you're like, let's open up that light board and see if I can hack into this thing.
Yeah,
and
if there's pins.
You did. You opened it up. You ended up coming up with this thing called the vocal remote system, and we'd play around with it. We'd mess around with it. But I remember there was a USITT, which is the United States
Institute of Theater Technology.
Yeah, it's a big deal in the theater world. And they had a conference in Seattle, and they were, for whatever reason, coming over to look at our space. And we demonstrated the vocal remote system, and I've never seen industry professionals be more agog. I mean, they were literally like, are you going to sell this soon?
Right.
Are you going to, like, how did these two idiots come up with this thing? Right. You know, but it was ingenious. I mean, it was really an amazing thing.
You know, if I'd been older or I'd been more driven by money, I would have tried to cash in on that. So I was showing this small group the booth and how this was all tied together. And somebody asked me if we were going to market it. And I said, I don't know, maybe. And this guy just nailed it. He said, you're just kind of one of those guys that likes to make things and just made it for your own amusement. You're not planning on doing anything with it, huh? And I said, yeah, probably.
Yeah. I mean, it was great for doing light checks, but it was fallible enough that you couldn't really use it for a show. It was too risky. It was too risky to use. And so its practical application was limited at the time.
Yeah,
but
I mean,
still
I think
an
Rob
amazing
tried it.
thing.
I think we tried it with Rob a couple of times where we put a mic on him, and when he called light cues, you were there in case one didn't go, but he called some of the light cues that way. And then we were just like,
he was so fucking patient with us. I mean, it's like no stage manager should put up with that crap at all, right? You know?
Yeah.
And then I'm going to let you explain the places calls.
Oh, well, yeah, so like at 15 minutes and 5 minutes, the stage manager calls backstage on a PA and says, 5 minutes to places, everybody. 5 minutes to places. And that's what it was every single time. And then he'd do places calls, and that's when all the actors have to get on stage, get ready to go on. That's really the top of the show. Places, everybody. Places for Peter Pan or whatever it is. Places. And so we started making... I mean, at first, I think it just started as we were doing the places calls instead of him over the PA, because he would call it from the booth.
Yeah.
And I think that we started being the person just to surprise the actors.
Doing silly voices.
Yeah.
And just having a conversation between the two of us, I think was I can remember one where you had given me a script. We'd done it live, and you're like, okay, you say this and I'll say this, and then we'll end up, you know, and it was a short, like, minute and a half long scene or something, but and then it became unhinged.
Well, yeah, so then I just decided to up the production value a little bit, and we started pre-recording these places calls. So let's see, the theater that was across the parking lot from us was the Seattle Rep. So we did one that was like a war scene.
This was the same time as the Gulf War, right?
Yeah, so, I think it was.
Totally, and the news cycle was all about Scud missile attacks, right, coming in, right?
Right. So we made that up, that was something that had happened. There was this war between the Rep and Intiman, which obviously that didn't exist, but I put in all these sound effects, and we had...
I can remember being the correspondent on the roof going like, all right, I'm on the roof, I can see over to the Intiman. You know, so.
Right. And I think we pulled some people from the box office to come do voices. And I actually remember, because Maya was the head of the box office at this point, and these became a little bit, I don't want to say legend, but they were known, and she said that whenever somebody got called from the box office to come and help us with these to record a voiceover, they were like, ooh, you got to work on one of the places calls. I didn't know. But then there was the one, at one point we were doing Charlotte's Web. So the Zuckerman police force was just a line that one of the characters had. So we made this whole song about Zuckerman police force that was a place's call.
One. Wow.
Yeah.
It's not one I remember. Huh?
So yeah, those were the places calls. Yeah, it was just, we're young and stupid and easily entertained, but by our own dumb devices.
Yeah. It was more fun than it was worth, but
yeah.
All right. I think we've exhausted this topic.
Yeah, I think so, at least with everything I can remember for right now.
Yeah, that was a good mystery subject, Maya.
Yeah, thank you. All right, later.
Bye.